Okay, let's see if I just put that there like that and move this into a position where it's not completely obscuring the view. I realise for a lot of you this is the first time you're seeing my face, so I apologise already for the horror, as it were. Right, I think we're ready. Let's do a Q&A. Hey everyone, it's M4J here and welcome to this very special video. The day you are watching this is the 10th anniversary of this channel. 22nd of July 2013, gotta get my dates right, was the day that I uploaded my first video to this channel that was meant to be a gameplay video. There were videos that came before. I think there was like a Football Manager free kick or like a 30-yard goal or something like that. And there was also a project that I did for school that's not on the channel anymore. It didn't age very well, so I took that down. But otherwise, yeah, this is the first sort of big milestone really of the channel since the 1K subscriber, which was 2018. I think that happened now, so it's a long time ago, maybe 2020 actually, thinking about it. But I asked you guys for your questions. You sent me them on Discord. There were probably some from other places as well, but I deliberately chose the ones on Discord because I thought they would make the best questions, and you guys didn't let me down. So I've split it into 3 categories. I've got them, in fact 4 categories now. I've got them on a list in front of me here. If you see me looking over here periodically, it's just to look at whatever the next question is, things like that. There's also the first question also relates to the fact that you will see the lighting around me change. I'm recording this currently just coming up to 10 PM this first bit, but there'll be other bits during the day and things like that as well. I'll answer that in a second though. Right now though, I do just want to say thank you everyone who supported the channel over the last 10 years. It has meant a lot. We've had some bumps, we've had some ups, we've had some downs. There is a question about what would I change, what would I do differently. I'll come to that when I come to that question. But overall, it's been a ride for sure. I've enjoyed pretty much all of it. There are some bits, again, talk about those in a bit. But for the most part, yeah, this has been a big part of my life. I turned 30 this year, the channel turns 10. It's been a third of my life spent making videos, talking into a microphone for you guys. Various different locations, various different games, various different points in my life, but we're here, and that's the main thing. So the first set of questions is actually about my life and career, so I think that's a really good place to start and a really good place to leave the waffling here. Let's get into the questions, shall we? So the first question is, how do you manage to hold down so many jobs simultaneously on top of maintaining a YouTube channel? This is from Master Trams. We talk quite a lot off camera about various different things. He's helping me with OpenTTD projects at the moment, most of which are currently on hold because I haven't had the time to do my end of the bargain, which is fine. That's on me. And in fact, I'm about to answer why that is. So for those of you that don't know, I am a freelance content creator. YouTube is technically my full-time job. Not M4J though. I actually work for a few other companies. So my main job is officially social media producer for a company called Racing Games that is part of Gfinity. And in fact, quite recently, I've changed job with them. So before 2 weeks ago, officially I was a video producer. So if you are familiar with Racing Games, you may have seen me talk about them. I make videos on their behalf. So, you know, it'd be a case of taking an article off their website, turning it into a script, doing the voiceover for that script, editing that video, uploading that video, thumbnail, SEO, all that stuff. I also used to create original content based off, you know, ideas that we had. So again, Racing Games, we work primarily with things like the F1 games, Gran Turismo, Forza, things like Turbo Golf Racing that I keep meaning to bring to this channel, but never had the time to. But yeah, that's my main job. And in recent times, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, I've actually become a full-time writer for them as well. So a lot more articles on their website have now been written by me, which is great. So to actually be able to do that as a full-time job is something I'm very, very happy to be able to do. You know, I work freelance for them, so it's not 9 to 5 as such. It is technically 9 to 5, but the way it works isn't quite as simple as that. And I've moved around a lot within what I do for them, but making videos has always been fun. Writing articles is now fun, so it's a nice mix. But that's not the only thing I do. As I said, I'm a freelance content creator, so I go out and help other companies as well. And there's another company I work for by the name of Great British Talent. They're a talent agency. If you think about things like after dinner speeches or voiceovers for advertising campaigns, they're the kind of people that you would contact. So my job for Great British Talent is primarily podcast producer. So they started a podcast series this year where they sit and chat to some of their talent, I guess is the best way of saying it. And my job is to hit the record button, hit the stop button, and then go and edit those episodes and upload them to various platforms online. So again, it's content creation. It's something that I'm getting better at. I wouldn't say I'm still a professional yet, although technically I am a professional because I get paid to do it now. That is my full-time job now. I do it 9 to 5 and then 5 to 8 or whatever as well, depending on how many jobs I have to do that week. I do other things as well, other bits and pieces for people. My partner runs her own business, so I help her out from time to time. As well as doing stuff that I'm paid for, I also do stuff that I volunteer for. So technically I volunteer with my partner, but you know, she's a baker, she pays me in cakes. That's always nice. But you may have heard me talk about #United in the past. I help them out every year with their matchday production. So I create their matchday programs for them with the help of my brother, Tom, and also Neil, the media director of the club. He basically tells us what he needs doing and we go away and do it. So that's kind of cool. It's always nice to be able to name drop a club like that. And also Hatfield Town. Those of you that, again, you may know this, you may not. I was technically, John, the previous chairman, he gave me the title of Director of Media for the club. I think that was more an unofficial title than an official one because I never really operated in that capacity. My main job for Hatfield, again, was matchday production. So creating the matchday program. Not the same as #, believe it or not. You might think it's the same, you know, go on InDesign, make a program, publish. But # is a lot more, there's a template and we fill that template. Whereas Hatfield was, I made the template and then constantly changed the template according to what was needed. My partnership with Hatfield actually ended probably around the start of this year. No ill feeling, nothing like that. You know, nothing bad happened. It's just a case of John, the previous chairman, he passed the club on to new owners, effectively. And as part of that, you know, the partnership ended at that point. The Stags, Hatfield Town, they're no longer called the Stags. They're now called the Bulls. They got a new kit. They got a new badge, which is also really nice, actually. They wear blue now again. For the first time in 6 years, 7 years, something like that. They've gone back to blue. And it looks really, really cool. Blue and black. So, you know, it's sad that I'm not associated with the club anymore. I can totally understand why the new chairman would want to do his own thing. To be honest, because the club changed hands twice in the last 12 months, the current chairman probably doesn't even know I exist, which is fair enough, you know. Sometimes these things happen. It's unfortunate that I'm not working with the club anymore, but yeah, it's just one of those things. I still wish Hatfield the best. They're still one of my teams. We'll come to that in a bit as well. Yeah, the actual question then, how do I manage to hold down so many jobs simultaneously? Well, racing games is my 9 to 5, so that's what I do mostly during the day. Occasionally, you know, during my lunch break or things like that, there might be time to do some other things. For podcast recording, that tends to be, you know, 2 hours in a day. And then the # stuff, it tends to be around this time of year quite full on. So over the next few weeks, we'll be getting the program set up. And then once that's done, apart from the occasional time where the club might be playing a team that they've never played before and we have to do a history. So we have to go do some research, find out about that club and get it all compiled into the program. Or, you know, players might leave and join and we have to edit the bios, things like that. For the most part, once it's set up, it's just a case of switching around some dates, changing the opposition. And that's about it. Every time a major game gets released for racing games, it's really, really full on. We're pumping out content left, right and centre. We've got the F1 Manager release coming up next week, in fact. So that's going to be quite a busy one. But ultimately, it's just, you know, time management. My weekends are my weekends for the most part. If the missus is doing a bake sale or something like that, then, you know, one of my days might be taken up doing that. But otherwise, you know, I still have time for my hobbies. I still have time to record content for this channel. You know, sometimes it might be a case of Finish work at 5:30. I've got 2 hours to fill. Go record City Skylines for a bit. And the real trick is work 2 weeks ahead. And that's the case for all of my jobs. Everything I do, I try and stay 2 weeks ahead if I can help it. Or I've always got the first seeds in my mind as to what's going to be happening 2 weeks from now. Again, when you're working in sort of news and things like that, it's a bit hard necessarily to know what's going to happen 2 weeks from now. But for the most part, it's, keep 2 weeks ahead. So my channel right now is up to the end of the month and beyond is done. All recorded, all edited, all uploaded. You might wonder why there's always like unlisted videos at the bottom of playlists sometimes. That's why. It's because they're up, they're private, they'll go live when they go live, and then you guys can watch them. So yeah, I managed to hold down so many jobs by hopefully being good at what I do, and also managing my time very carefully indeed. So the next question then is, why do I support Newcastle United? Not just Newcastle, but also Stevenage, Hatfield, hashtag. There are other teams that I have soft spots for. I wouldn't say I support them as such, but there are teams that I like to see doing well from time to time. But yeah, predominantly Newcastle and Stevenage. So I'm from Hatfield. You might know this. That's why I chose Hatfield Town. Hatfield is just up the road from Stevenage. Honest reason why we started supporting them is we had a family get together at the stadium, Stevenage's stadium, Broadhall Way, and we realised that they had a match the next week. So we went. Me, my dad, my brother. We had friends as well that used to go, and it just became a weekly tradition. We'd meet up at the stadium, we'd watch the match. And then Stevenage got to Wembley in 2007. A little bit of football trivia for you. Stevenage FC, Stevenage Borough, as they were at the time. They were the first team to win a competitive final at the new Wembley Stadium. We beat Kidderminster Harriers, 3-2 in the FA Trophy final in 2007. We then went and beat York 2-0 in the final 2 years later, 2009. And then sadly, we lost to Barrow the following year. But by that point, we were hooked. So I'm no longer a season ticket holder at Stevenage because I moved away from the area. But for 15 years, I believe it was, I was a season ticket holder at Stevenage. Honestly, some of my best football memories are watching Stevenage. Going to Brentford, Griffin Park, Stadium MK. I've said a lot of not nice things about Stadium MK in the past. It's a fantastic stadium. Such a shame they can't fill it because it is a really, really nice stadium. I've seen promotions, relegations, cup final wins, cup final defeats. Funny enough, we were actually at Kidderminster the day we got promoted to the Football League for the first time. And that was a really, really good day out as well. So Stevenage are the team that I hold closest to my heart in terms of live football experiences. But I actually grew up a Newcastle fan. Then again, the question is, why do I support Newcastle? And the simple reason is my dad's from there. When I was born in the 90s, being a Newcastle fan was quite a fashionable thing. The Entertainers, Kevin Keegan, things like that. Then we got into the 2000s with Bobby Robson in charge, and again, they were a good team to support. And then we hit the bump in the road, shall we say? We had Allardyce, Joe Kinnear, oh God, the 2 relegations, Steve Bruce, who I actually like, to be honest, but yeah, we'll gloss over that. There's no point. This could be the whole video of me trying to defend Steve Bruce. No one can say that I support Newcastle for glory hunting reasons because we haven't won anything in my lifetime. We haven't won anything in my dad's lifetime. But yeah, my dad supported Newcastle, so Tom and I grew up as Newcastle fans as well. It's a simple reason. And then hashtag because I work for them from time to time, and Hatfield because I'm from Hatfield and worked for them for a while too. Nothing to do with social media presence, believe it or not. Nothing to do with, Newcastle being bought out by arguably one of the richest organisations in the world. Nothing to do with that. I've always been a Newcastle fan. There's pictures of me as a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old in Newcastle shirts. And I happened to start supporting Stevenage just before they started being good. But even if they were still in the National League now, I would be a Stevenage fan because just being able to go and watch live football every weekend was really awesome, and it just happened to be we chose a good team to go support. So yeah, that's why I support those teams. Alright, so we've talked about football, we've talked about what I do for a living. Next question is to do with careers. What's your advice to anyone looking for a job? This is actually a position I was in myself not so long ago. Feels like very recently, in fact, but it's just over 2 years ago now that I started at Racing Games. And I'm not going to dwell too much on what happened in 2020. Those of you who are around then, you'll know. If it comes up as a question in the future, then, you know, maybe I'll cover it a little bit more. I'll try not to talk too much about it if I can, but I found myself in a position during one of the more interesting periods of our lives, shall we say, where I needed to find an actual proper job. You know, I'd been graduated from uni for 2 years. It was 3 years by 2021, which is when I started my actual job, and I needed to look for work. And when you've got a degree in media like I have, there's quite a few different things that you could potentially do. So content creation is what I do now, but I could have been a copywriter, could have been a journalist, which is also technically what I do now. Social media management, influencer, some really boring stuff as well. And I just kept searching for keywords that I thought would be related to what I can do. This YouTube channel is the best thing I've ever done in terms of helping get a job, because not only did it help with my own personal confidence and self-esteem and things like that, but it also gave me some very, very good experience that I could use. I actually managed to transfer from an engineering degree to a media degree because of my video editing skills. And when I started this channel, I had no video editing skills. I had to learn on the job. So, you know, if you watch my original videos, there's a lot of stuff in there that's very, very ropey. You know, transitions are crap, graphics are crap, music choice is awful, sound balance is off. I think there's one video still on my channel of Cities in Motion 2 where the screen is green for like the entire video, and I still don't know what happened in that recording. You know, just learn from those sorts of experiences. If you have a hobby that you think you could maybe one day monetize, pursue it. You know, if you have an interest in football and you are trying to get a job in football, why not start a football blog or upload videos saying why the 4-4-2 formation is outdated or things like that. It might not go anywhere, but it could also go everywhere, you know? When I started this channel, the idea was not to use this as a career. I wanted to be an engineer. This was just a bit of fun on the side. I could talk about football, I could talk about video games, whatever. Now it is my career, and it's the greatest thing I've ever done, to be honest, because I don't know where I would be without this, because engineering didn't work out. So if you're looking for a job, don't be afraid to put all your experience on your CV. Even if it's, you know, you worked in a library for a summer back 10 years ago. Put that down. You never know. Don't be afraid to apply for something even if you think you might not be very good at it, because if you're interested in it, most employers will take someone who's interested over someone who's qualified. And I don't mean, you know, don't apply to be a surgeon if you've got no medical experience, because that's not going to work. But, you know, the job I do now, I didn't think I was qualified for when I got it. I thought I was very, very lucky, and also deer in headlights moment on my first day when, you know, there was all these key terms that I didn't understand, all these deadlines that I didn't think I was going to meet. I'm here 2 years later, so clearly it worked. Don't be afraid of failure. We'll always fail before we succeed. If you do get an interview anywhere, try and turn it as much into a conversation as you can rather than an interrogation. So they'll ask you questions, you'll ask them questions, but the very first question I got in my Racing Games interview is, what's my favourite formation in Football Manager? Totally unrelated to what I do, but what a great first question, and it just completely broke the ice and made it one of the best conversations that you could have. Hopefully that's useful advice. It's really difficult for me to give advice because admittedly the last 2 job interviews I've had, I've succeeded, but you know, up until that point I'd had a lot of failures as well. So it's a bit like asking someone how the YouTube algorithm works. They'll say what worked for them, but that won't necessarily work for everyone. But yeah, hopefully some of that answer is somewhat helpful. Okay, so the next question is a bit more of a philosophical one, I suppose. What's the worst decision you've ever made in life? It might not sound like a philosophical question, but I'm going to try and answer it with a philosophical answer. I think it's very hard to say that anything I've done in my life has been a bad decision, considering everything I've done in my life has got me to where I am now. And, you know, I've known about these questions for a while. I've been prepping some of my answers for this. And I was talking to my partner in the car the other day, and I mentioned that I had this question. And I said, to be honest, there is an answer to this question, but for the most part, I don't think I've made any bad decisions, because everything that I've done, every decision that I've made, you know, giving up on engineering, switching to media, you know, even back when I was in sixth form doing my A-levels, and I did my AS year and then dropped out and went to college and got a BTEC instead. Because of the way things worked at uni as well, I ended up 3 years behind, plus the year that I spent doing my AS levels. I graduated 4 years later in life than arguably you're supposed to. And you'd think, oh, you know, that would be the worst mistake, was doing my AS levels and therefore, you know, continuing to pursue engineering when perhaps it wasn't what was meant for me. But without that, if I hadn't have done my AS levels, I wouldn't have ended up in the college class that I did, and I wouldn't have met the people that I did, and I wouldn't have had the experience that I did. That then took me into university, which then gave me those experiences and those memories and meeting people there as well. That then wouldn't have led to me transferring to media and meeting those people, making those memories, and crucially at that point, learning the experience that I use on a daily basis now. And even, you know, when I graduated, I did 2 years with XVI, didn't work out, but I learned a lot during that. Running your own business is something that I do now, and that's technically what I did for 2 years then. I'm leaning more towards there is no worst decision of my life, but there is actually a worst decision of my life. And it's a really boring story, but it has a very valuable message, I suppose, which is, like I said at the top of the video, I'm 30 now, but I've got the back of a 65-year-old. And the reason that is back at my parents' house, there's a cabin in the back garden. It was meant to be my office for content creation. It never happened. But back in 2015, I think it was, we were doing renovations on that cabin, and part of it included weatherproofing, and we had this huge roll of rubber roofing material. I don't really know what it's made out of, but it felt like rubber, so I'm just going to call it rubber. And this thing was cut specifically to fit the roof of this cabin, and this cabin was like, or still is because it still exists, it's like 12 foot wide and 18 foot long, something like that. So it's a, you know, it's a big building, and this roofing material probably weighed about the same as me. I was getting a bit impatient because part of the renovation was also painting the outside of the cabin, and we were doing that before we put the new roof on. And there was a football match kicking off that afternoon, and I wanted to watch it. So I thought, you know, I'm strong. I'm 22. I'm in the prime of my life. I can carry this thing. So I picked up this roofing material, carried it outside, went to put it down, and something popped in my back. And ever since then, I can't even sneeze now without getting pains in my back. Worst decision I ever made was prioritizing a football match over my ability to be able to bend over and pick something up without being in pain. I've hurt my back so many different ways since then. And not long after I did this first injury, I actually went on a golfing trip to Portugal and came back with stitches in my head as well. So I had a really bad run of luck around that age. But yeah. Nothing bad like, oh, I should have stayed at uni, or I should never have gone to uni, or anything like that. Literally, the worst decision I ever made was picking up this heavy roofing material and thinking I could carry it by myself. Alright, and the final question in this first section of the video is the best game I have ever played and why. Best game for me, personally, Rollercoaster Tycoon 2. That is the one that I used to sink all of my time into. It's the one that, even when I used to go on school holidays to my grandparents' house, I always used to have the Rollercoaster Tycoon disc in my bag. And first thing I did when we get there was install it on their PC. Even when I went to Australia to visit my grandparents out there, I took that disc with me and for 2 weeks played it on their PC. And then final day before we came home, uninstalled it, brought it back with me. That game is the game that I think I've sunk the most hours into in my life. I know a lot of you were probably expecting me to say Transport Tycoon for that answer, but Honestly, now, OpenTTD and Transport Tycoon, one of the biggest parts of my life. OpenTTD, definitely. It's the thing that helped my channel really gain traction. But Rollercoaster Tycoon did so much for me as a kid. It gave me the interest in engineering that led down the path to getting my diploma, going to university, everything like that. I wanted to be a theme park designer. That was my dream job. Even now, I have a huge interest in roller coasters and theme park design and all aspects of what makes a theme park work, and it all comes from playing that game. The original Rollercoaster Tycoon was the one that got me first interested, but Rollercoaster Tycoon 2 is the one that just grabbed that and dragged it to a whole new level. Rollercoaster Tycoon 3 was also a very, very good game made by Frontier, one of my favorite developers, but at that point there was no chance that I could spend as many hours in that game as I did in Rollercoaster Tycoon 2 for various different reasons. And even now, you know, Planet Coaster, Planet Zoo, both made by Frontier, fantastic games. Both of them even can trace their heritage back to Rollercoaster Tycoon 2. Chris Sawyer is an absolute genius. You could really tell that he loved theme parks himself. He knew everything about them. And because of that, I know everything about them. So, best game I ever played, definitely Rollercoaster Tycoon 2. So that ends the first section of questions. That was all about my my life and career. There's a few more questions coming up to do with both of those, but those are the ones really that fitted best into that category. Now, it is very late in the evening, so I'm going to do a magic trick in just a second, and the next time you see me, there's going to be daylight coming from over there. And there's the daylight. Right, on with the Q&A then. And these questions are all about YouTube. You know, things like when did I first start? What was I thinking? All that kind of thing. And the first question is, what kind of expectations did you have when you first started? To be honest, none. I wasn't expecting to make a living off of YouTube. I wasn't expecting to be doing it 10 years later. Like I said, I wanted to be an engineer. So I figured, you know, it would be something fun to do while I was at uni. And then once I graduated and got a job in the industry, I would not do YouTube anymore. That was the plan. So yeah, the expectations were to just upload content, occasionally meet people along the way, and that's about it. For those of you that don't know, I actually didn't start my channel to do gaming. I actually started my channel to do comedy sketches and things like that. So I worked on a project when I was at school, doing media studies called That's a Wrap, which was like a behind the scenes look at making a show. And it was meant to be a comedy, and that's what I wanted to actually put on my YouTube channel. Didn't work out for various reasons. That video that was the pilot used to be on my channel. It isn't anymore. Like I said, it aged terribly. The gaming side of things was just to try and earn money through ad revenue, which was kind of a new thing at the time, to be able to buy equipment, you know, cameras, lights, maybe a green screen, all the things that I actually have now, but for various very, very different reasons. So I had no expectations when I started my channel. The goal was really just to upload content and use it as a hobby while I studied for a degree. So the next question is, what things have you learnt along the way? Everything I've learnt from doing my YouTube channel. How to run a schedule, how to make a schedule, how to keep to a schedule, how to manage deadlines, you know, editing skills, Photoshop skills, little bits of coding that I've done along the way as well. My final year project at university was the first version of what's now my website. The less said about that version, the better. It was using Dreamweaver. It was terrible. HTML sucks. Don't even ask me about CSS and Java. Everything that I know now that I use for my job, pretty much I learned on the job when I was doing my YouTube channel. Don't get me wrong, uni was great. It did teach me some skills as well. But for the most part, you know, I can use 3 or 4 different types of editing software now. I can use 3 different types of image editing software. Couldn't remember what it was called then. But literally everything that I use in my job now, I learned whilst doing my YouTube channel. So this next question is a bit like the worst decision I've ever made in life one. It's the best decision I've ever made, or best decisions I've ever made in the 10 years of doing YouTube. Honestly, the best decision was choosing to pursue this full time. Might sound crazy, but the choice to actually switch from an engineering degree to a media degree was the best decision. learning the skills, putting them into action. So the best decision I made was to actually take the risk and try and get a qualification in media. That's definitely the best decision I've made. There is a follow-up as well, which is the worst mistakes I've ever made during 10 years of doing YouTube. I wouldn't call them mistakes as such, but I've done a lot over the 10 years of saying things like, you know, this series is coming up soon, and then it never appears. It's something that I'm very guilty of. I still do it now. I always say things like, yep, I'll get that done by tomorrow, fully intending to get it done by tomorrow, and then various things pop up and it becomes impossible. And then tomorrow turns into 6 months. And even, you know, right now recording this, there's things that I said I would do on the channel that haven't been able to do yet. I think people are waiting for Minecraft series. People are waiting for that Siege series that I said, 3 years ago now. Still hasn't happened. That's never going to happen now, by the way. The Siege series, that ship has definitely sailed. But some of the other things that I have said will happen, should still happen, hopefully will still happen. And then there's also mistakes where not getting into streaming quick enough, sort of missing the boat on that one. And then when I did start streaming, not necessarily taking it seriously. And there's a lot of times with my videos where I've never put out a video that I've actively disliked, but there have been times where I've rushed into a project not really thinking about what I was doing. So I do sort of regret that a little bit. And also sort of jumping at opportunities. It's always exciting when you're a content creator and someone contacts you and asks you about a collaboration or promoting a product or just teaming up and streaming something together. And it's always easy just to go, yeah, that sounds awesome, let's do it. But really, you have to sit and think sometimes. And there have been times where I've entered into these sorts of agreements and it's not really benefited me at all. But because it was exciting at the time, I was like, yeah, let's go, let's do this. So I'm not going to name any examples there. And to be honest, there's nothing that's particularly cost me anything. But at the same time, just jumping at every opportunity, it does eventually come back to bite you. So I guess that's the best thing. And the worst thing about YouTube is you do get given lots of opportunities and it's about picking and choosing the right ones. And boy, do I need a manager right now to help me do that. If anyone's offering to take that role, by the way, feel free to drop me a message and we can chat. So this next question is actually very similar to the last two. This one is, what would you do differently if you were to do it all again? Basically what I just said. I wouldn't jump at every opportunity that came my way. I certainly would protect my brand a little bit more as well. I've offered my brand up in the past. Obviously it's mine, I own it. But I've used it as sort of leverage for certain things. It's never been hard to get back. It's always been given back to me, as it were. But, you know, at the same time, protect it a bit more and not just be like, hey, look, you're teaming up with M4J. You know, that should mean something. Because it really doesn't. Let's be honest here, it doesn't. Something else I would do differently is really push at the start to try and grow the channel as quick as possible. At the time, like I said, it was just a hobby. So it wasn't a massive deal whether it grew or not, but I've always made it clear that I would like it to continue growing, and the community that it's built, I would like to keep growing as well. But it took me, what was it, 2020, I think, or 2021? Somewhere around that. Might have even been 2018 when I hit 1,000 subs. And it meant so much. But now I see new channels that start and they hit 1,000 within like 2 weeks, and then they hit 2,000 a week later, then 10,000, and it is actually very easy to grow a channel like that, believe it or not. It's something that I've done with racing games. We went from, I think, 34 subscribers to 12,700 and something in just over 2 years. And, you know, it's different. It's not playing games. It's reporting on news to do with games instead. And, you know, there's more of a market for that. No one really cares about what I do with the monorail in City Skylines necessarily. But, you know, an anti-cheat coming to a new racing game is something quite exciting. But yeah, I really wish that I had taken it more seriously back at the start and really pushed to grow more than I have now. To be less than 2,000 subscribers after 10 years, I personally think is a failure and is very disappointing. And the fact that the channel hasn't grown that much in 10 years shows how I've treated it, really. So, you know, that's rectifiable. We've got another 10 years now to try and keep growing it. But for the most part, that's probably my biggest thing, is I should have grown it faster, and I should have maybe learned some skills faster and taken SEO a bit more seriously, and things like that. And the final question in the YouTube section is also a bit of a twofer. Is there any part of the video making process you particularly enjoy? And is there any part of the video making process that you particularly don't enjoy? The thing I enjoy the most is, sounds a bit big-headed this, but seeing the fruits of my labor. So every time now I go on City Skylines and I look at the city that I've built, or, you know, Football Manager, if we win a title or a cup or anything like that, and just knowing that, you know, I've captured that, that's mine, that will forever be on the internet. I always fills me with a bit of pride. The thing I really love though, and I think this is basically the legacy of my channel right now, is OpenTTD. Every time I go on Reddit and I see someone asking questions about the M4J Network or the tutorial series, and they say things, some of it's a bit like, you know, I watched this video on Signals, why does he do it like this? Which is fine. As I say, no one has to play the game the way I do. I play it a very unique way. But just to have people talking about something that I've done is definitely one of the best bits. To be honest though, the question is actually about the video making process. And the best bit is when I finish an edit and I watch it all back before I hit render. And sometimes it's things like City Skylines particularly, and also OpenTTD, where it goes from me talking normally like I am now into a time lapse and the music crescendos, or goes back down before I start talking again. If I manage to do that and it's on the exact, like the perfect note for doing that, that always gives me a little buzz. Or, you know, if I get the graphics just right, or particularly with racing games as well, some of the animations that we started doing. So we were doing interviews with game developers, and I managed to make an animation where if we had a quote block, it would actually appear on screen as I'm reading it out. Little things like that. You just get a little buzz out of it, and when you learn something new and you see it in a video and it works, that's always really good. The downside to video that I really don't enjoy is the graft. Editing is a long, tedious process. General rule of thumb, if you've got a video that's say 10 minutes long, it probably takes you about 2 to 3 hours to make. And I work quite quickly. It's one of the things I'm particularly proud of. I can get something made in, you know, 2/3 of the time it might take someone else. It still takes me a long time. That's why with my channel, I tend to do things in a single take, and got quite good at doing things in a single take. If you watch one of my OpenTTD videos recently, or all of my Blue Veil videos, they are recorded in a single session. All of the fast forwarding and slow down, things like that, that's all done in one continuous file that I then chop and edit in post. And it's a pretty good skill to have, I'll be honest, but that makes it so much easier to edit compared to something like this video, where when it comes to editing this, I'm going to have to go through, right now there's 13 clips including this one that I'm going to have to go through and chop down into bits and then put it all together at the end, and then add music, and if I'm doing graphics or cutaways or anything like that, have to add those in as well. The rewarding bit is seeing it all at the end, and hopefully it all looks really good and hopefully you guys enjoy it, but the graft of getting to that stage can get a little bit tedious, and right now I'm suffering a bit with burnout, mainly because I've been pushing myself to get as much content made as possible for all the channels that I work for. But there are times where you sit and look at a Premiere file and you just think, I can't today. There's too much that needs to be done. That's definitely not fun. Definitely not fun for me. Also, because, you know, I work with video games, people assume, especially with racing games, people assume that I just sit there playing games all the time. But because we have to report on them, and there's like 30 or 40 different games out there that we could be talking about at any time, we don't actually get time to play games. We have to write about them as if we have. But apart from F1 that I've been playing a lot recently to do the setups on racing games, which you can find at racinggames.gg, a little plug, I hadn't played the F1 games at all. I did get to do a preview event a month ago where I got to get early access to the game, but besides that, I haven't played F1 at all this year, and I wanted to do a series on this channel. I wanted to do a series on the Racing Games channel, neither of which could happen due to time shortages. Might still do Breaking Point or something eventually, but right now there's just no time. It's tedious. It is fun. It is enjoyable, don't get me wrong, but it's also incredibly tedious. Right, so that's questions about YouTube done. Now we move on to the gaming and future series section of the Q&A here. So the first question, it's a very good one this. When did you discover each game that you have a series on and Minecraft? Now first of all, I have had series on Minecraft in the past. I first heard about Minecraft about a year after it first came out, but just wasn't that interested in playing it. And it was only sort of by accident that I started watching other people playing it and realised just how good Minecraft is. And then I heard about modded Minecraft. There is a question on that in a second, and I've got some good news for that person. Yeah, Minecraft is the one that it's kind of like the one that gets away all the time, because I have so many ideas for Minecraft, and then I jump in and start doing it, and then it gets to a point where I'm like, yeah, I remember why I don't play this very often. The problem is a lot of it is waiting. You're either waiting for things to get crafted, or you're waiting for, if you're playing modded Minecraft, you're waiting for a machine to finish a particular task, or you might be waiting for a particular product to be made, or you run out of resources and you have to go and find some. And I'm not a miner in Minecraft. I hate doing that. I'm a builder. It gets to the point where you're just like, I can't be bothered right now, and then a week passes, and then 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then eventually you get to now, and it's been 5 years I think since I last played Minecraft, and I do want to get back into it. And again, the next question is more about that, so I'll get on to that then. OpenTTD, like I said, I used to play Transport Tycoon Deluxe back in the day. We went on a family shopping trip one day when I was like 7 years old, I think 7 or 8 years old. And we went to a game shop, and I came home with a game box, but it was like an old CD case, you know, the ones where it sort of opens and then opens again. And in that box, I had the original Roller Coaster Tycoon, I had the original Railroad Tycoon, and I had Transport Tycoon Deluxe. In fact, it might have been the original Transport Tycoon as well. And then eventually I upgraded to Transport Tycoon Deluxe. And Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. I have played Railroad Tycoons 2 and 3. They are very good games, but I never really got into them as much as I did the other two for some reason, which is a bit weird. You'd think I'd have gotten into Railroad Tycoon more, but alas, not the case. So that's how I found those. Football Manager, I was around a friend one day, and they had this football game they were playing. Same with FIFA, similar story. FIFA I've had since FIFA 2001, or FIFA 01, whatever it was called. Football Manager, it was 2005 that I started playing Football Manager, and I've had everyone since. What else do I play? Oh, a lot of the games like, you know, RimWorld, Space Engineers, games like that. They're all games that I've seen other people play, people I follow on YouTube or social media, and I've seen it and thought, oh, that looks fun, I'll give that a go. And normally these days, if I pick up a new game, first thing I do is open OBS and record an episode on it. There's actually been some that you'll never see for various reasons, tech issues, or just didn't enjoy the game as much as I thought I would. But for the most part, yeah, it's personal experiences, or it's seeing other people playing them and thinking that would be fun. And actually, I have this thing where it's the reason I started an OpenTTD series, was I was watching other people playing it, and they weren't playing it in the style that I enjoy. And I kept trying to find people who were playing these games the way I like to see them be played. And I realized that no one out there was doing that. And then I thought, why don't I do that? And then, yeah, it took me a few goes, as you know, to get OpenTTD off the ground. But then when it did, it's become the thing I'm probably most well known for. So, yeah, hopefully that answers that question. So this is the Minecraft question that I was referring to just now. Would you consider making a series on Minecraft using the mod Minecraft MTR, which I believe stands for Minecraft Transit Railway? And a few others that come recommended to enhance it. MTR is a mod that adds trains, stations, and even passenger information displays, which is what PID stands for, to the vanilla game, and means you can create a fully functioning automated rail system with real train models. I won't read the rest of the question because it gets quite long, but the short answer is yes. I will definitely consider this, because I didn't know what this mod was until this question was asked. And I went away and did some digging, followed the instructions that you left in the question here, and it's such a good mod, and I cannot believe I hadn't heard of it before now. I've been using Railcraft and, you know, what's the engineering one? Something engineering, Real Engineering or something like that. And if anyone remembers my Guard City series, it was all about those mods really, and, you know, Buildcraft and Robocraft and Computercraft and, oh god, whatever the other ones were that I was using. And MTR just ticks every box that I've been looking for with a Minecraft mod. There are a few other things that I would want to add to get the kind of city setup that I would want, but definitely, having watched all the tutorials for Minecraft MTR now, I want to play it. I really, really want to play it. And I think once City Skyline starts calming down a little bit, that might be my next project. And the plan I've got is to actually take the old Guard City map that I was using for various series and strip it back and start again, and just use that map as a basis and then go in with MTR. The only hang up I've got is MTR seems to be a creative mode mod, and I like playing in survival. So if I can find a way to make it work in a survival scenario, definitely I will play it. If not, I might have to put my my grievances to one side and play it anyway, because it does look really good. The lifts look amazing. And I was going through the playlist, like looking at the video titles, and it was literally things like, okay, so you can set up automated rail. Okay, you can set up point work. You can choose different train types. You can set up automated signs. There's a map system. Oh, that's really cool. Oh my god, he's added boats. Oh my god, he's added planes. And just, it looks so good. And the fact that, I don't know the full mod team, but it appears to be one person who's created all this, and it looks freaking awesome. So, short answer is yes, I would love to do a series on Minecraft MTR. Long answer is yes, but I would want it to be a survival series, still using the Guard City map, and maybe even putting it on a server and getting people online to help build and run it as well. So this next question is one that's been asked to me before, but I wanted to answer it again now because circumstances have changed slightly since I first answered it. And this new answer might actually be better than the previous answer I gave. So, would you consider doing another OpenTTD Let's Play alongside the M4J Network, where you build realistic systems but only do shorter videos? For example, you can have a rule where you would do one route each video, and to determine the size to keep to a time limit. Could do one video a week to help keep pressure off yourself. An example could be a local route that would have 20 to 25 stops, a semi-express would have 15 to 20, and an express, don't know why I said it like that, an express would have 5 to 10. This would also be the rule you could follow if you did route extensions. I think watching you create a new map from scratch with all the realistic timetabling, or just having timetables that run 24 hours would be interesting to watch as the network grows from nothing to something big. Yeah, you've kind of described the M4J network. That's basically how it evolved. Now, obviously, those who've watched the M4J network series, you wouldn't have seen how it got to that stage in the first place, because when we started, it was already built mostly. So the Majeffries network is the one where you see it being built and evolve and things like that. And to be honest, part of what I'm doing now with the M4J network is kind of this. It's deconstructing a lot of what was built previously and doing it in a newer and better way. So again, the answer to this one is kind of no. I wouldn't do another series alongside the M4J network, but I want to take these ideas and incorporate them into the M4J network. So building new routes in particular episodes. The plan is always to try and build a route, do the timetabling for it, and get trains running in a single episode. That's what I do in my Transport Fever 2 series as well. If I build a new route, I try and get something running on it by the end of that episode. Same with City Skylines as well. If I build a new transport route, I try and get something running on it by the end. And that's kind of like the point at which you can say, okay, this project's finished now, we can move on to something else. I like this idea. My only hang up on this one is I don't want to do something else other than the M4J network, because that's my thing. That's what I'm known for. That's what I enjoy doing most with OpenTTD. The tutorial series, I did do a new map on that, and you can kind of see things being built there in my style. But for the most part, I want to keep doing the M4J network, and the only thing holding it back right now is actually me, because Master Trams is waiting for me to hand him the service schedules so that he can do the timetabling, or at least do the SRTs for me that I can then do the timetabling from. Yeah, I like the idea of doing these one a week, build a new route, get some trains running and things like that. The only other issue is it wouldn't be in the same episode that I'd be able to get trains running. It might take a little bit longer because, again, these SRTs and things like that, they take quite a long time to produce, as it turns out. But I would love to be able to take these ideas and actually incorporate them into the M4J network, assuming that's what people want to see, of course. And the final question in this section is actually one very similar to the one previously. Will you ever create a Transport Fever 2 series with your unique build style using modern day trains and vehicles? I know others do this, but you have a different but still true to life gift, thank you, that I'd like to see used in this game with mods out there. I'm assuming that's a compliment, but yeah, similar answer, to be honest. The reason I've stopped playing Transport Fever 2 at the moment is not because I'm bored of the game, necessarily, but I was kind of bored of the period that we were in. And the the episodes were getting very, very samey, which was, build a route, get some trains running on it, and then 2 episodes later, make a complete different change of direction with what I was doing, and then rebuild the route, or, rebuild a station, or whatever it might be, redo the trains. So what I wanted to do was go away and create a plan, and it was never actually the intention to stop making Transport Fever 2 videos. The reason I did stop was because City Skylines suddenly took off. I was getting like 300 views on videos. That's ended now, so I'll probably start looking at doing other things again. But yeah, the plan is to take that map that I'm working on and actually push it into modern times, and start running, electrified trains and diesel trains and more modern stock, and maybe even take it up to present day. But I wanted to do the natural evolution of that. So start with steam, then evolve into beginnings of diesel, beginnings of electrified stock, and then slowly build it up. But it just starts taking too long is the problem. So again, if this is satisfactory to the person who asked this and people who watch that series, I would like to keep that series going. Of course, it will come back, but it'll be more of a slow transition from the steam age to the modern age. But I want to do more detailing work. That's something I'm interested in now. I'm trying to make things look good as well as function well. It's kind of what I'm doing with City Skylines now as well, where I build something that's practical, that it works, and then I'll go back and add detail to make it look nicer. And a lot of that is off-camera work, and it'll probably be the same with Transport Fever as well. But ultimately, I see some of the things that people do online and they look so good. So I want to be able to do something like that myself. But it's a learning process. So Rome wasn't built in a day. It might take me a while to be able to do these things, but that is definitely the plan. And again, hopefully hopefully you guys enjoy watching that as well. So we're now in the final section of the Q&A, and this is the miscellaneous section. This is things that didn't really fit into a category. I promised to answer every question that was asked, so here they are. First one, do you know that in theory you can create OpenTTD in OpenTTD? I don't know what this means. I'm guessing that you can use some kind of, signal programming or something, because I know people build calculators and things like that in OpenTTD. Maybe you can build something that simulates what goes on in the background of OpenTTD. So I don't 100% know what this means, but maybe someone can explain it to me, because this kind of sounds interesting. But yeah, I did not know that in theory you can create OpenTTD in OpenTTD. So this next one is, what is the best mode of transport in your opinion? Simple answer is a well-integrated rail network is by far the best mode of transport in my opinion. If it's an electric train, for example, the Crossrail Class 345s can carry, I think it's 1,100 people on board each train. And in terms of emissions and things like that, it is by far the cleanest form of mass transport. If you think about a plane, even the biggest planes, the Airbus A380s, I think their capacity is something like 800 passengers. And they burn more environmentally friendly fuel now, but at the same time, they're burning fuel. So long as the electricity is sourced from a relatively clean source, a train is by far the best mode of transport for taking large volumes of people from one place to another without leaving a massive carbon footprint, and also relatively comfortably as well. You know, cruise ships can carry 2,000 people, but if the seas get rough, you're going to feel it. You can't really get seasick on a train. I do on Pendolinos, but that's a very different matter. And you know, you don't get turbulence on a train unless the track work is really bad, which in this country it tends not to be, but there are occasionally places where that is the case. And there's a bit of bias there as well because, you know, I like trains, I like railways, that's my thing. But yeah, definitely the best mode of transport, in my opinion, is railway, closely followed by electric buses and trolleys and things like that, because again, cleanliness, and also they're just good ways of getting large volumes of people around a dense area in the most efficient way possible. Cars by far are the worst form of transport in my opinion. The fact that you can have like a 7-seater car with just one person driving it, there's that famous image of people in cars and then people on bikes and just how much it saves in terms of space. Cars are terrible, and bikes I would say are good, but I have never met a considerate cyclist when I've been out on the road. So no offense, cyclists, I admire what you're doing, but at the same time you got to give me space as well. So yeah, best mode of transport is a train, worst mode of transport is a car. Planes, boats, all that stuff kind of fits somewhere in the middle. So this next question then is actually about cars. What's my favorite car? I have a few. None of them I'll ever be able to afford, but I like them anyway. The Lamborghini Sesto Elemento is a good place to start. It's a really good looking car. It's a really good sounding car. I have one in Forza Horizon 5 and I do love it. There's also a BMW M5, I think, Forza edition, something like that I have in Forza that is absolutely incredible. But yeah, my favourite real-world car that realistically I can afford is a Fiat Panda because I have one. But yeah, dream cars and things like that. And the McLaren MP4-12C, that's a really good car. The Lamborghini Huracan is a good car, as is the Aventador. There's so many good Lamborghinis, it's impossible to name particularly one. Aston Martin V8 Vantage, I think, is the one from Die Another Day. That's a really good car. The Jaguar XJR I do like as well. I think that's the one. It's the one that looks like a Lamborghini but isn't. My dream car is an Aston Martin. A V8 Vantage would be nice, or a Vanquish would also be nice. And there used to be, I mean, the brand still exists, but there used to be a car called the Carver 1, which was like half motorbike, half car. I think they featured it on Top Gear back in the day. And I used to really want one of those. And then not so long ago, I was out with my partner and we drove past one and I was like, oh, that's the car I used to really want. And then I sort of looked at it and thought, that is actually the worst car I've ever seen. So bubbles can burst, as it turns out. But yeah, my favourite car, absolute favourite car, is probably an Aston Martin V8 Vantage or Vanquish, one of those two. So this is the penultimate question now of the video, and it's kind of an interesting one. How many countries do you know, and how many capitals do you know, as in capital cities? This is something, I think I've mentioned it on the channel before. I don't know why I don't talk about it more, but I am a really keen quizzer. I do lots of quizzes on TV, I do lots of pub quizzes with my family. I love learning new things, and I love learning useless trivia that you're never going to use in life, apart from that one time in the Dog and Duck where it comes up as question 6. So I actually know a fair amount about various countries and capital cities. Now, there are lots that I don't know, but I know the ones like, you know, it sounds obvious, but Washington DC is the capital of the USA, not New York, not Los Angeles, nothing else. Washington DC. DC, by the way, District of Columbia, for those of you that don't know. Canberra is the capital of Australia. You know, Wellington's the capital of New Zealand, and I really hope I got that right because everyone thinks it's Auckland. Also, things like Luxembourg is the capital of Luxembourg, and Mexico City with Mexico, and Singapore is the capital of Singapore. Things like that. You know them or you don't, basically, and there are some where it's not immediately obvious. You've got ones as well like Budapest and Bucharest that sound very similar but are in completely different countries. And the one I always struggle with is South America. and you've got, you know, Lima, Santiago. The only ones I know for sure are Buenos Aires, Argentina, and Brasilia for Brazil. Not Rio, not Sao Paulo. But yeah, I try to know as many of them as possible, and also their flags. I try and learn as many flags of the world as I can as well, but ultimately there's only so much that you can remember, and there's so many countries and capitals and flags in the world. So I'd like to think I know more than the average bear, but at the same time, there's only one way to find out. Quiz me. And so we come to the final question of the 10-year Q&A, and it's actually one that I should have answered earlier because it came up right at the very beginning, and I completely forgot to answer it. What other teams from other sports do I support? So this was a follow-on to the why do I support Newcastle and Stevenage and Hatfield and hashtag. The answer is, to be honest, there aren't many other teams in other sports that I support. Obviously, anytime England play in various sports, I will support them. But ultimately, a lot of the other sports I watch, it's individuals rather than teams. So, you know, golf, for example, I do watch golf from time to time. I don't particularly have a favourite golfer at the moment. I think golf itself is very boring to watch on TV. Very exciting and interesting to play sometimes, but it doesn't always make for best TV. I'm currently watching the Ashes at the moment, so obviously I'm a big England fan for that. And I think the 100 starts soon as well, and I need to pick a team for that. I would have chosen Southern Brave, because I believe they're... but actually, it's not Southern Brave. I think they're Southampton. I think there's one based in Kent, which is where I am now. But I can't remember exactly what the team is, so I'll have to find that out. And if they have got one, I'll support them. F1, I do like Mercedes, and I do like McLaren. There's no team that I actively dislike other than Red Bull. Red Bull, I just don't like Red Bull. Don't need to go into that. But all the other teams I'm pretty indifferent towards, but I really do like Mercedes because of Hamilton, and now Russell as well, of course. And I really do like McLaren. Even before Lando joined, I liked McLaren. Just British team, British fan, you know, kind of makes sense. But yeah, I'm trying to think, is there any other team in a sport that I support? And I don't think there is, because, you know, I tend to watch things like snooker and things like that where it's individuals and not teams. So it's a really boring answer, I know. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I'm a massive football fan. I'm a massive F1 fan. And those are the sports that I watch the most. And you know which teams I support in those now. But yeah, that brings us to the end of the 10-year Q&A. Hopefully I can whittle this video down into something that's a bit more watchable, because I think right now it's like an hour and a half long or something if I add all the clips together. I'm just looking at my preview there to see how long they are. It'll be something like that, but I'll whittle it down into something a bit more bite-sized for each question. I do just want to take the opportunity though to say thank you everyone who supported me over the last 10 years. It's been an absolute privilege to be able to not just make content for you, but to interact with you as well. If you're watching this and you're not already a member of my Discord, then please do join. It's the best place to be in contact with me, besides the YouTube comments, of course. And I'm pretty much always on there watching things. I might not always reply straight away because I might be in the middle of doing something, but for the most part, I'm always there. I'm always keeping an eye on things. Always trying to join in the conversation where we can, and every time a new game gets announced, like City Skylines 2 is the one at the moment, I'm always on there trying to interact as much as possible and get excited about the game because it looks really good and I can't wait to play it. Anyone who supported me other than just watching videos as well, anyone who supported me on Patreon over the years, anyone who's helped share my content, anyone who's, you know, followed me on Twitter or joined my Facebook group or again joined the Discord, replied to me on Reddit, anything like that. It might seem really small and insignificant, but to know that I'm making something that can actually be watched and enjoyed by people, it actually means a lot to me, and it's been a big part of my life now, like I've said. And you know, 10 years, it's been a big part of a few people's lives, I imagine. So people who've been around for the full 10 years, people who joined just last week, it doesn't matter. I appreciate every single one of you. It's been absolutely awesome, and yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it, to be honest, but thank you everyone who supported the channel. It really does mean a lot. But that's it for this video. Thank you everyone for watching this as well. If I have missed anything out for whatever reason, do let me know in the comments down below. If you have any other questions, why not ask them down below, or if you have answers to some of the questions that have been asked. I have some questions of my own for you, one of which is, What's your favorite video that you've seen me make? That's one that I've asked before. I'm planning on doing more content like this, me talking to you, some of which involves reacting to old videos. So I'd like to know what your favorite videos are. Maybe I can tell you some cool behind the scenes stories of how they were made. What's your favorite playlist or series on the channel as well? Let me know. You can also tell me your least favorite if you like. That's also fine. I have some least favorites myself, believe it or not. Things that just haven't worked for whatever reason, or little things like that. And the last question really from me is, what do you want to see in the future? Any games, any ideas, any playlists, anything like that you'd like to see me do, let me know down below. We've got the Minecraft series now potentially coming. City Skylines 2 is definitely coming. I'd like to bring Football Manager back next year. Some of the announcements to do with Football Manager 2024 are very exciting, so I'd like to bring that to the channel. But I'm always on the lookout for new games as well. And there's a couple of others that I have in the pipeline that could potentially start in the not too distant future. And of course the continuation of some of the series that are on the channel right now. But yeah, let me know down below. Be sure to hit the like button while you're there. If you are watching this and you're not currently subscribed to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button as well. And why not click the bell as well, so you can see when I upload my latest videos. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching. 10 years is a long time, but we're still here and we're still going. And here's to the next 10 years. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And until next time, I will see you soon.